Hey, what's up, peeps? We are here on a Saturday night. This is the DC Stewart Show Podcast live with my kinfolk Isaah, and we got us a special guest again tonight. And we got Freebird Tony, our guy. Day one, Freebird Tony took the time out of his schedule to join us and give us a list of the top 10 wide receiver duos of all time in the NFL. And everybody's got a difference of opinion when it comes to wide receivers or any position for that matter. But Tony put his list together. We're going to go down the list, and technically the number one on the list is non-negotiable. That's all etched in stone. And then thereafter, we're opening up the floor for conversation and debate on which receiver duos would have been the best pick from Tony's list. Although Tony's got a solid list, as solid as a rock as far as I'm concerned. And with all of that said, make sure you hit that like button and make sure you subscribe, because we're bringing it to you, and we're bringing great guests like Freebird Tony to you. And we want to bring additional content to you as well. And that algorithm really helps us out when you hit that like button and when you hit that subscribe button. So you are currently watching the DC Stewart Show Podcast live once again. No ESPN scripts. All real talk, all real vibing, and we're going to get into this thing right now. We got our top 10 wide receiver duos of all time, and I'm going to start with the number one pick from Freebird Tony's list. By the way, we're going to have a Q&A after this show, so please feel free to come aboard, ask us questions, and please participate. We want your involvement in this because we think it's important to go forward. So first on the list right now that I'm looking at right now, Tony, is Jerry Rice and Terrell Owens. How did you arrive at this number one pick out of all of the picks that, they've had tons and tons of duos in the NFL, but Jerry Rice and Terrell Owens stuck out to you, which we call Terrell Owens T.O., by the way. How did that happen?
The numbers. When I saw, because what I was really looking for was touchdowns, combined touchdowns, and combined yardage. Excuse me. And when I saw 257 touchdowns, it blew me away. I was like, and that's 5 years, because they were only together for 5 years, 96 through 2000.
Mm-hmm.
And then 257 touchdowns. And then yardage-wise, it was, I think, it was a little under.
Well, the yardage that I'm looking at right now is 27,819 yards, which is just beyond incomprehensible to me how you could score that many yards and that many touchdowns, correct?
In 5 seasons.
In 5 seasons, between the two of them.
Yeah. Yeah. And so what I'm looking for also in a good tandem is how they complement each other. If I'm got to have someone who can stretch the field, of course.
Exactly.
Someone that can run precise routes, know where the yard markers are, finding ways to get open, and as far as stretching the field and doing the other things, Jerry Rice was able to do both of those things. Really.
Yeah, he was Terrell, very talented in stretching and taking.
Or T.O., excuse me, T.O. He could spread the field. Yeah.
So these two receivers,
and he was very strong, a very strong receiver who could break tackles and stuff like that.
Right. He was a very big receiver in terms of his ability to be able to catch and run with the ball as well, right?
Okay,
he was able to catch and run with it.
That was my third category. My third category was YAC, yards after catch.
Correct.
And Right.
So with these two guys, I think they played between two different quarterbacks. I want to say Steve Young was one quarterback that they played with as well. The tandem hooked up with Steve Young because I
That is
believe
correct.
T.O. came along on the tail end of kind of like Steve Young's career with John Taylor, because Jerry Rice and John Taylor hooked it up for so long. I mean, they were a super, super good duo as well. But once
Right.
T.O. got drafted, he was able to come in and parlay that into something that was really special because he helped Jerry Rice, because, like you said, Jerry Rice could run deep patterns. He could run intermediate patterns. He could do the whole 9 yards. And that made the huge difference right there.
And he's very how can I say, determined.
He was very determined. Yes.
He was just very determined, and yeah. But getting back to Steve Young, Steve Young was the quarterback in '94 when they
Correct.
beat the Chargers, right?
Right.
I believe '93 is when Montana was with the Chiefs,
Right.
right? I think.
I believe
So
you were
that
absolutely
that
right
agreement,
on that. Let me
yeah,
look that up
I'm not
really quick.
sure. Yeah, I'm not sure if Steve Young first year was the Super Bowl winning.
Yeah, I think Montana had already left and went to the Chiefs
Right.
because Steve Young came along. He was waiting in the wings anyway once Montana departed. So it looks, you were absolutely right. It was 93 through 94. He played 2 seasons for the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah.
So with all of that said, I think it's a good pick from your part to have T.O. and to have Jerry Rice as the top duo, because one, like you said, 257 touchdowns. 2, you had 27,000 plus yards between the two of them. And I don't think any other duo has matched that, to be honest with you.
No.
I haven't
No.
seen anybody come close to it. 27,819 yards. 27,819 yards is just, to me, that's HOF. That's Hall of Fame numbers for sure. If they were giving them out the duos, wouldn't you say so?
I would think so, and they did it in five seasons.
And they did it in 5 years.
Yeah. So
So
yeah,
once
that was
again, I think it's a good pick. How about you, Isaiah? You think this is a good number 1 pick for a duo?
Yes, it is. It's not my top pick, but yes, it's nobody would argue that. They got the numbers, they had the talent, and it's enormous that they did it in such a small span of time. But anybody who look at football and watch football and have any type of football knowledge will understand that they got to be in the top 3 or 4 of all time. They just not mine, but man, because I got a list that has a little bit more longevity, but their numbers speaks for itself. I mean, it's amazing to see somebody can put up those type of numbers. The touchdowns is crazy in that short span. I mean, it's amazing to see that happens, because I don't think no other group of receivers and quarterbacks ever did that. It's just amazing to see them get that many yards and touchdowns at that short time and span. Yeah.
Right. And Jeff Garcia, he played for the 49ers for a while. And
right.
he actually threw to, I want to say, both of those guys as well. Because I know him and T.O. was like a 1-2 punch for sure.
Yeah.
And what we want to stress while we're talking about these duos, these wide receiver duos, we want to stress the quarterback. We got to bring the quarterback into this conversation.
If it wasn't for the quarterback, they wouldn't have gotten it. I mean, that was one of the things that I always thought. There's no way in the world that you can get that amount of yards without having a good quarterback. And that quarterback's got to be versatile too, because 90% well, not 90, but I say 70%.
Mm-hmm.
70% of these throws are short throws. They're not long. They're not bombs. They're these probably 40-yard run catches, and then they'll run 80-yard touchdowns. It could be a 30-yard pass and an 80-yard to a yard touchdown, and that's where these guys calculate those yards so rapidly because they catch the ball short and they just smoke you to the end zone, man. And that's how you get it. And that has to do with a lot of not just catching the ball and running down. It's a combination of stuff got to happen for a team to make these type of yardage. It comes with downfield blocking as well. So somebody got to get down there and block that defensive back or that corner or that safety for this guy to run a touchdown like that. So it's great. That means that offense was sufficient for them to get that type of yard in such a short span. Yeah.
Yeah, the San Francisco offense was really dynamic in a lot of ways. Because of the offense. It was a West Coast offense. They devised what they call a West Coast offense. Andy Reid was part of that offense as well when it came to even with the Green Bay Packers. But getting back to the 49ers, this West Coast offense was like take short ins or outs and turn them into 80-yard runs. I mean, or 70-yard runs or however many types of runs that they turned them into. And getting back to before T.O. got there, John Taylor and Jerry Rice was notorious for that, and they were able to take those short outs from Joe Montana and run with them, and then it was a touchdown just from the get-go. So, Tony, we think that's a very, very good pick for the first number one duo in the league. So let's look at a little bit of the second pick, and let's go here because I got my list in front of me. Give me just a second.
And by the way, this is not in any particular order. I just was jotting them down as they were coming to mind.
Okay.
So
it's the top 10, so your best
number
of 10.
one, and then the rest is open for debate.
Yeah, for debate. That's pretty much how I did mine too, Tony. And when I start looking at all the pairs of guys that was super good as a pair, I just couldn't put them in order. I mean, it'd take you days to start saying, oh, wow, I got to tweak this. Nah, it don't work like that. You got to come up with your top 10 or the best of the 10, because that's the only way you can kind of bring it into flourishing to have that best of 10 instead of just numbering what was the absolute best in order. Because you can't do that unless you're going to sit there with a pen and paper and just start calculating yardage and things of that sort and years that they took to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. So the number two duo is Andre Reed and James Lofton. Tony, give us some context on how you arrived, because I know those guys were deadly too, especially getting the Bills to those 4 Super Bowls that they actually lost. I mean, Andre Reed and Lofton was just phenomenal. And then you had Don Beebe in there in the middle of it, but mostly Lofton and Andre Reed. How did you come to those two guys?
Consistency and also great route runners. Reed in particular, knowing where the markers are, helping out the quarterback when he's in trouble, stuff like that. Lofton, always remember him making big plays.
Yeah,
I did too. I remember Lofton making some super big plays back in the day.
Right, in crucial situations or important situations.
Yeah,
Becoming big. But mainly the consistency and how they were an integral part of their successful offense those Super Bowl years where they, we all know, couldn't win one.
Man. Hey, I'm gonna tell you something, Tony. I couldn't stand neither one of them, man. I couldn't stand them.
Well, they play the Dolphins twice a year, right? I mean, in the AFC East.
Every time we thought we had the guys beating freaking Reed to run a touchdown, and it pissed me the hell off, man. The Dolphins will go ahead
Yeah.
And either Thurman Thomas or Reed will freaking run a touchdown. It ran me up the wall, man. God
didn't help
almighty.
having William Judson,
Yep.
Paul Langford covering
Yeah, I
each
remember
other.
those two corners for the
The
Miami
thing with
Dolphins.
James Lofton, Lofton always had this freaking huge smile on his face, man. It was at least you almost thinking he's getting the ball. See, Lofton is smiling too much. What is they gonna throw the ball to him? And there it is, throw the damn ball to him. And you see this guy running to the damn end zone, man. Yeah.
Yeah. I just couldn't stand them myself.
Yeah, I mean, how could you? They were constantly
Yeah.
just taking it to the
Really?
Dolphins every time they played,
Yeah,
right?
man. Oh my goodness, yeah.
So it looks like Andre Reed had a career of 951 receptions, 13,198 yards, 87 TDs over his career, and it put him in the Hall of Fame. I mean, if you think about that.
You can't. There's no denying him for being in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, and
those type of numbers, wow, no denying him.
And then let me look at James Lofton, because if you look at James Lofton's numbers, James Lofton had some hefty numbers as well, you know. And
wasn't James Lawson a track runner too, DC?
I believe he ran track in college. I believe
in
when
college,
he was at Stanford. Yeah, I think he ran track at Stanford.
Yeah.
So he was super fast, but he was a great route runner, so it made him look faster, right?
Mm-hmm. And he had this gallop about him like a gazelle, man. He had the long legs, short torso, where he'd just be cruising and blowing past you, man, and you couldn't catch him.
So 764 receptions for 14,004 yards for James Lofton, 75 TDs. So that's a very formidable set of numbers from one duo, right? I mean, if you put all those numbers together, you got a fantastic, number, a whole number, I would say, to be honest with you. So let's move on to this third group. And we have here, my computer is loading a little bit on the slow side, so give me just a second. The third one is Cliff Branch and Fred Biletnikoff from the Raiders. The Raiders! I love to say that.
Yeah. The Raiders.
The Raiders! Chris Mortensen. But
they didn't make none of this.
Well, you know what? These two guys, they were pretty deadly as well.
I was debating. I know they were, but man, I was really debating on those guys because they were so good as well, man. But I got caught up in the mix later on. I couldn't do it, man. But yeah.
So, what's your biggest debate with this particular pick? I mean, as far as duos are concerned,
is that for Tony?
Yes.
Okay. The speed of Cliff Branch and the route running of Biletnikoff, and here goes my bias again. When I was a teenager in the mid 70s, I really fell in love and latched onto the Raiders, man. I like the team.
They were a hard team not to like, right? Because they were a bunch of misfits together, and they were playing with just guys that were odd to each other, right?
Yeah. Okay. That was in their offense and defense too, man.
True.
Their offense and defense had a bunch of misfits in there, but they used to kick rear ends all over the place, though.
That's what attracted me also to them, because I was in those years, kind of like getting in trouble. Let's put it that way. Never got arrested, but I got in a lot of trouble, and I could have been considered one of those misfits. So I remember going to the mall one day, and I wanted this Ken Stabler jersey, but it was a size smaller than what I needed. But I bought it anyway, and that thing was so tight on me. it looked really funny.
So, yeah, Biletnikoff was a possession receiver. He when Stabler was in trouble, Biletnikoff would come back to the ball. Biletnikoff would make those plays where Cliff Branch would do the same, but Cliff Branch was more of an outside receiver to match
Right.
up with a cornerback and go deep. That's because that's what he did. That's what he did. He made his living going deep on deep posts, skinny posts, go routes, as they call bombs. They call them go routes in the playbooks, in some playbooks. But they matched each other pretty well because Stabler, when he got in trouble and started running, he started looking for Biletnikoff, you know, or the tight end, whoever the tight end for the Raiders was for at that time. I remember Todd
Dave
Christensen
Casper.
was a good
Dave
good
Casper.
and
is the
Dave
man.
Casper. It was Dave Casper,
Right.
Biletnikoff,
He
and
was-
Cliff Branch.
Yeah, in the 70s, it was Casper. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then I remember Todd Christensen, but he was well after I believe Stabler had already retired.
That was when Plunkett came along.
That was when Jim
Came in at
Plunkett.
that time. Yeah.
Right.
Right.
So
yeah, and remember, Biletnikoff was also the Super Bowl 11
MVP. Oh.
MVP. Right.
yeah. So it looks like Branch played from 1972 to 1985. And technically, he had 501 receptions for 8,685 yards and 67 touchdowns. That's a pretty good. Four-time Pro Bowler, held playoff records with 73 catches for 1,289 yards, and he made it into the Hall of Fame, as well as all those other legendary Raiders did, right?
Yes, I'd like to bring up something that I had mentioned to DC earlier in the week. If we all remember the Super Bowl in Tampa between the Redskins and the Raiders,
I remember that.
where Marcus Allen, it was the last play of the third quarter. Marcus Allen takes it. It was like a run to the left, and everything just closed up.
Then he reversed and went down
And
the
he
other way.
reversed and went the opposite direction.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah, that's one of the most memorable runners.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. Now, if you notice, at around the 30-yard line or so, as Marcus is heading for the end zone, there's a DB catching up to Marcus, and he's going to catch up to Marcus. But all of a sudden, you see from the opposite end of the field, Cliff Branch, like a lightning bolt, just go whoop,
Running down the field. I remember that play.
Get in front of the guy enough to slow it down, and that's what got Marcus into the end zone. You just got to see that play whenever you get a chance, and you'll see what I'm talking about.
Hey, and you know what? I
this
believe
is
the
toward the end
Raiders
of his
played
career.
that. They played that at the Coliseum. I mean, they were at home against Washington.
That run was.
Oh, it was in Tampa?
Sombrero.
Oh, okay.
Sombrero, yeah.
Okay.
The old stadium. Yeah.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah, that was it was played in January of 84, but it was for the 83 season.
Okay.
That was one of the most memorable runs with Marcus Allen to me, man. To see him running that traffic and reverse and go the other way and just smoke everybody going down the opposite side. Because that play was designed to go to the left and he turned around and go the other way and took off running.
Yeah,
And
that was a huge play.
Big enough gap to get it through, yeah.
And you know, another big play in that game was Jack Squarick, who was a linebacker. He was an inside linebacker for the Raiders.
Yeah.
And he
But
caught
number
a
31,
pass.
he
He
was
caught
number
an
31.
interception and ran it right in. It was like a screen. I guess Theismann threw it out there, and it was a screen, and he caught it and ran with it, and it was a touchdown on top of whatever happened on offense as well, right?
I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the final in that game was 39-7, I believe.
Yes.
That was a blowout then.
Yeah, it was a big time blowout, and I mean Joe Gibbs was still the coach, and I don't think he was very happy that night. The way the Raiders were pushing them guys around on the line of scrimmage, to be honest with you.
I have an interesting story about that game.
Mm-hmm.
Warm-ups. The Redskins on one side of the field, Raiders on the other side. So in the end zone area, Theismann's tossing the ball.
Right.
Back and forth thing. You know. Al Davis with his silver jacket, black pants, the sunglasses, just goes over as close as he can get without disturbing anything, crosses his arms, and just stares into Theismann. And every time Theismann kind of looks over, he's
He
there.
was trying to intimidate him.
I think he was trying to intimidate him, right?
Intimidate, yeah.
Absolutely.
But you know, he did that quite often, man. I seen him do that quite often. I seen him do that so much before a game. He would go out there with his hands like this across, just like this, and he would just walk up to people. I thought somebody was gonna pimp slap him, man. He was always in somebody's face.
Yeah. Al Davis had a way of getting his point across by not saying
He got his way
right?
a lot. Even when it came to the NFL issues, he had his way a lot. And I think it's so much. I think Jerry Jones tried to emulate him in certain aspects, man, because Al Davis got away with everything. He pushed over, man. The commissioners all respected
Pete
him.
Rozelle was kind of a punching bag for Al Davis.
Yeah.
Pete Rozelle was. Yeah.
He sued them. He sued the NFL.
And won.
Yeah.
I believe he ended up winning as well. Yeah.
And so then the funny thing is that he won that. I believe it was before they won the Super Bowl in 80 or the one in 83. And Rozelle had to hand the trophy to Al Davis. And it was shortly after the decision in court.
Right. I know the Raiders defeated the Philadelphia Eagles in 80. They beat the Eagles with Dick Vermeil. So I want to say it was that game that he ended up having to hand him the trophy.
Okay. That was the one then.
And all Al could say is just win, baby. The commitment to excellence, just win.
I like that.
Yeah. So let's move on to this next one, and it's John Jefferson and Charlie Joyner. Charlie Joyner and John Jefferson was just phenomenal. I mean, Dan Fouts throwing them that ball like he did.
Yeah.
And Charlie Joyner was more like a Fred Biletnikoff type of receiver. He was more possession oriented. And then you had John Jefferson was like, to me, he was a ballet in cleats. I mean, with some of the ways that he went up to catch the ball and was able to come down with it.
Stairs.
It was like he was waltzing and climbing stairs. Yeah. And with that said, Tony, how did you arrive at these two gentlemen being the duo right after Biletnikoff and Cliff Branch?
Again, it was bias into that era, and I saw these guys a lot when I was young. And Joyner in particular, I am a big fan of, and always was a big fan of Joyner. Small guy, but tough as nails.
Absolutely.
Yeah, he was a tough player. And his route running was precise. And he worked so well running those routes that it was like clockwork between him and Fouts.
Right.
Yeah. And Jefferson, like you said, he was like a ballerina out there.
He was.
Making huge plays.
He was built like one, too. He was long and lanky, too. He looked like a ballerina.
He did.
He did. Tall and lanky, no fat on him, nothing.
And then you look at those goggles. He used to wear those goggles even before Eric Dickerson got goggles. John Jefferson used to wear those, you know.
Yeah.
And to have Dan Fouts throwing the ball to those guys, and then he had Kellen Winslow right in the middle when he couldn't connect with either one of them. He went directly to Winslow. Kellen
Yeah.
Winslow
Remember
Sr.
what his name used to be? Remember his nickname was the Snake.
I didn't know that. I did not know
Yep.
that. I wasn't familiar with his name being the Snake. But either way, I just think these two guys really, really knocked it out of the park. These two receivers for the Chargers, they were part of that Air Coryell offense, you know.
Right.
And you had Air Coryell, Don Coryell was the head coach at the time, and he got a lot of his offensive schemes from Sid Gilman. Sid Gilman was more of an offensive minded, spread the field type of offensive minded coach, and they did a lot of things with spreading out cornerbacks and just taking them in different directions with motion and things like that. So that made a huge difference. So these two guys,
I'm sorry, he did that in St. Louis with the Cardinals.
he
Coryell.
did.
Right.
Yeah, and then
With
when he got
Mark,
this the
with Jim
San
Mark.
Diego, it was just he took it to the next level, right?
Yeah. He had more talent, I think.
He did.
Yeah.
He had much more talent in with the Chargers than he did with the Cardinals. Excuse me. So the number 5 pick for wide receiver duos is Mark Clayton and Mark Duper for the Miami Dolphins. I can relate with that. How did you arrive at these two guys? And then I'm going to go to Isaah and ask him his take on it as well.
Because I watched these guys play about half of their career. I saw them play in person. And nobody can tell me that these guys were not a dynamic duo.
Mm-hmm.
You had Duper stretching the field like nobody else could at the time. You had Clayton, the intermediate guy who could then bust it loose for whatever, 70 yards, whatever. And their numbers are okay, nothing out of this world. I believe it's 143 combined touchdowns.
They had 143 combined, yes.
And yardage in the 17,000 or so, 17, 18,000, something like that. I think it's in the 17s.
Okay. So with all of that said, Isaah, what do you think about this duo at number 5, Mark Clayton and Mark Duper?
Well, I have them at 3.
Okay.
I have them at 3. But you know why? I mean, why they even in the conversation? Because they had this one thing that they did great. Duper was the quick guy. He would just take off 80 yards. Clayton was more of the garbage man. He was the cleanup guy. He would catch balls underneath. He would catch the things where Duper was scary. He just a smoky going.
Yeah, Duper didn't like to catch the ball in the middle of the field too much, right?
No, he did not.
He wanted to go straight down the field and just throw it. And Marino would just throw the ball right where he can go run under it, man. He just take off running. Marino would just meet him down to 80 yards and the ball will be there because Marino had the quickest release you ever want to see. And he would just take off, man. If he got in trouble, Clayton was like a little pesky gnat. He would catch everything underneath. He didn't give a damn whether it was a linebacker that was going to knock his head off, man. His chin strap going to get unfastened when he get hit. But he would catch the ball. He was that guy who would do the dirty work. And he always came up with those challenge first downs, those 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8. He was the one who's going to clean it up. I mean, Duper was the guy who going to catch you sleep. That 1st and 10, they go off for the ball. That was Duper. He take off running. He takes off running, and Marino just throw it to him, man.
Right.
And that was it took years for people to catch up on that.
Okay, I'm sorry. I just wanted to say a good example of what you just said about Clayton is that Monday night game with the Bears, that the ball gets tipped, and all out of nowhere, the ball's in Clayton's hands, and he takes it the distance.
Yeah.
In that
Yeah.
particular
See,
game,
that's what kind of guy he was, man. He used to fight for the ball too, man. When Marino was in trouble, he was going to fight you, man. Even if somebody intercept Marino's passes, Clayton knocked the crap out of you, man. Duper's not so much. He'll try to run behind you and script the ball or something like try to get the ball back. But Clayton will lay that wood on you, man, because he's trying to get the ball back. Yeah, that was a good. It was so delightful to see those years of Marino and Duper and Clayton, man.
hooking up
The
with those
Martin brothers,
guys,
they
right?
had, yes, man. It was great. It was great football,
So,
man. Because we was at a slump. Remember, DC and
yeah,
Tony, we were at a slump because we were so hungry for something like that happened because we didn't have anybody since Greasy in the glory days of the '70s. So when Marino came along, it was such a breath of fresh air to have a group like that can catch the ball because we was real starving for something because Paul Warfield and the guys of the '70s was all retired by then.
yeah.
Yeah,
That is so true. I have two memorable games. Tony just broke down the first one with Chicago. It was Nat Moore and it was Mark Clayton. I mean, Duper
yeah,
was nearly, I mean, he didn't get very many balls thrown to him that night for whatever reason. But one thing that they exploited was that Bears defense that Buddy Ryan had, and it just left Gary Fensick back there by himself to try to figure out who the ball was going to go to. And with the quick release that Dan Marino had, he had either Clayton taking a 15-yard in or out and then grabbing it and running with it, or he had Nat Moore coming across, gaining, possession
yeah,
plays as well.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
the second most memorable game I remember was when the Seattle Seahawks came to town, and we're talking about the Seahawks being in the Super Bowl. They had Chuck Knox as the head coach. They had Kenny Easley, and they had a really good defense that year. But Duper ran under several touchdowns in that game, and I believe it was raining that game. I'm not 100% sure, but I think
That's a game that was Dan Marino's rookie season.
it
Is that
was.
the
I
one you're
believe it
talking
was his
about?
rookie
Because
season.
the
Yes,
following year they also played again.
they did. They
Um,
did.
okay, but the rainy game, yes, I know. I was there. It was terrible. I remember going on my way out. Uh, s- Stopped by the bus of the Seahawks players,
Mm-hmm.
and it's funny. Stepped in. I'm wearing my Dolphins gear, and I stepped in and I said, "Hey, congratulations, guys! That was a good, tough game." And one of the players says, "F you, get the hell out of here, Dolphin fan," or something like that. Um, and I remember from that point forward, I always rooted against the Seahawks.
They were
Well, what about this
just one of
week
them unusual
tomorrow?
type of teams back then anyway, because if you look
I
at
was
how
a
the
young guy,
Seahawks,
man. Yeah,
they came
I
out of
was
the Pacific
21 at the
Northwest
time.
at that
Yeah,
time, and they were in the AFC back then. They are in the NFC now. Um,
right.
but they were in the AFC back then
AFC
until they
West. Yeah.
realigned all of the divisions and the conferences and stuff. And
Right.
they just had a good squad, man. They had, Jim Zorn, he was a quarterback for them for a little while. And then they had
Kurt
Dave
Warner.
Craig. I think Dave Craig was the one that helped win these two games against the
Yeah.
Dolphins. At least one of them for sure.
Right.
Yeah,
They had Kurt Warner, the running back.
they had Kurt Warner.
And they
Yeah,
had Kurt Warner,
Yeah.
who
Kurt
came out of
Warner
Penn
was something
State.
else, man.
He was a
Oh
tight little
man,
running back. He was a shifty little
yes,
running back. That's right.
Yep. Mhm.
So let's move on to this next duo is Chris Carter and Randy Moss. Now, that's a good one. I mean, if you think
What
about
number is
that,
that, DC?
what
What
was
number
that?
is that? What pair is that? What number? What pair
It
is that?
should be 6.
Okay.
Yeah, it should be 6, I believe.
Okay.
Chris Carter and Randy Moss, which they were a dynamic duo together. If you think about it, I mean, those guys they played really well together. They had Dante Culpepper throwing to them. Once again, if you look at all of Tony picks tonight, they had a possession receiver and they had a deep threat receiver. So just keep that
Yeah.
in mind. All of these pairs, with the exception of Rice and Owens, to me, they had these two receivers, the number one duo. They could either one of them could go deep and do intermediate
Rice
passes.
and Owens did both of them.
They did both.
Rice and Owens did both. Yeah.
Yes. But with all of that said, what was the dynamic thing that Chris Carter and Randy Moss stuck out to you with, Tony?
Randy Moss he was just so magnificent. Everything he did out there, man, you could do whatever. He was a big playmaker, especially when they needed something big.
Right.
He delivered. And the other side, Carter. I mean, he scored a lot, but later on, as I'm, doing numbers and stuff, I saw that they only had a combined 97 touchdowns, I think.
Right, they did.
And
they did.
yeah, I thought that was kind of low. Yeah.
But they wasn't together that long, were they?
I don't think
They
so.
were not.
They was not together that long. That's probably the reason. They were good
Right.
while they were there, but they didn't last that long. Because even with Culpepper wound up leaving too. So
Yeah, that's right. And they had Randall Cunningham throwing to him as well for a little while.
Right.
Both of them.
Right. We're doing Philly. Yeah.
Yeah. So either way, with both of those guys, they were still. I mean, the Vikings were a dangerous team at that time. They had Denny Green coaching them for a while, and they were pretty dangerous because they had that dynamic where Carter would catch it and run with it, and he would gain the yardage that they needed, necessary yardage, and all Moss would do was just take a streak and put his hand up. That was his MO is run down the field, stick his hand up,
throw it up high.
and Culpepper threw it to his highest point, and he ran right up under it.
And he was at Marshall. Wasn't Pennington his quarterback?
Chad Pennington was, yes, when he was at Marshall, Chad Pennington threw it to him as well. Yes, that's a good one, Tony. So that was the 7th duo. Let's go to the next one. Is the 8th is Marvin Harrison and Reggie Wayne. Give me some insight on these two guys.
210 touchdowns. The big plays again. I know it helps when you have Peyton Manning throwing you the ball, but
that's right.
These guys would always just make big play after big play, and I saw Reggie Wayne a bit. I considered Reggie Wayne an underrated player, and I just wanted to give him like my props, and that's why I also threw them in there. But Harrison, come on.
Oh, Harrison was deadly, man.
He was superb. Yes.
And he was hard to tackle. You couldn't line him up right to get a good shot on him. I never seen a defensive back really.
Neither have I.
Yeah, I never saw a defensive back come up and lay him out. So
good point. Yes.
He was one of those kind of runners as he knew right where he needed to go because he watched the movement of the defender depending on which direction the defender backpedaled in or which direction the defender was looking to go to. Harrison was one of the best receivers in the league to read off of that, because that's how you stay out of harm's way, when you running routes.
Yeah, I thought they had a very efficient offense because they will score in a blink of an eye. They score with ease, man. They give the ball to Edgerrin James a couple times, and next thing you know, boom, they go up top, and there's a touchdown. It's like, you fool around and go to the refrigerator to get something to drink and come back, and
it's already 7 points on the board, right? Yeah, that was very impressive, and Jim Caldwell was the offensive coordinator for a while under Tony Dungy when he coached the Colts and when they were playing at the highest level, and then Caldwell took the team over. Caldwell was one game from going undefeated as well, and they just rested the starters in that game.
That was, I couldn't
You know,
believe they did that.
and
You
that
know what,
preserved
DC,
that 17-0 mark for Don
and
Shula with the Miami
they
Dolphins.
asses handed to them the next game too.
They did.
They lost the next game and got knocked out the damn playoffs or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Either they just lost, because I remember that game. They tried to save everybody, and then the next game they lost because they didn't want anybody to get hurt, and then they fool around. I think that didn't come from Caldwell, DC. I don't think that, because he seemed like he was pissed because they was urged to rest all of their good players, man, and only the second string players were playing. Peyton and the rest of those guys were sitting on the bench watching the game, and they got beat. And then, of course, the next game they got beat again.
Yeah, you know, Reggie Wayne was a dynamic receiver in his own right. He came out of Miami. He played at the highest level, and superstar receiver as far as I'm concerned, because he was able to, you know, dial it up with Peyton Manning time after time and after time again, even though they had Marvin Harrison. When Harrison was doubled, Reggie Wayne did extremely well. When Reggie Wayne was doubled, Harrison just knocked it out of the park. So that was a good pick at number 8, I think. So let's go to number 9, and let's talk a little bit about Isaac Bruce and Torrey Holt for the greatest show on turf from Kurt Warner. 210 TDs between the two of them. And Tony, tell us what you came up with that with Isaac Bruce and Torrey Holt.
Just the numbers, I think, also, as well as the intensity that these guys had. I think not Warner, the quarterback,
Right.
he benefited a lot from these guys.
Oh, he did.
Remember that? Yeah, that season, that big season where they were, like you said, the greatest show on turf. They put numbers up, and they were intimidating in that. I think DBs were like, "Oh man, we got a real tough one this today or tonight, whenever they played." And I mentioned to my son earlier today that about checking out the show tonight. And I told him what we were going to be talking about. And he said, "You better have Isaac Bruce and Terry Holt."
Absolutely.
And I said, "Yeah, they're there."
You know, they had a really wide open offense too. The Rams did. They ran a lot of motion, and these type of offenses with a lot of motion, what the defense is pretty much practicing throughout the week is they're practicing with motion in mind, but not when you have a lot of different motion, a lot of different movement. The tight end is motioning, and then he sets, and then you got the wide receiver or the flanker motions. And that's very confusing for a lot of defenses. I mean, where you have your assignment. Oh, okay, either you going deep half or you coming up to the line to try to make a play, and you see all of this motion is really confusing sometimes to a defense.
It's designed that way,
and that's the way it's designed, right?
That way. Yeah.
And the Rams ran that offense under Mike Martz. Mike Martz was the head coach for the Rams a little while. He never won a Super Bowl under him because it came up short, but that was more so his type of offense where, you know, they used Holt and Bruce. Bruce stayed still. Bruce was more of a deep runner. Torrey Holt was a deep runner and an intermediate catcher as well. But between the two of them, man, they were just really dynamic in that particular offense themselves, right?
Yeah. Similar to Clayton and Duper.
Yes, absolutely. So let's move to this next one. The final number 10 duo is John Stallworth and Lynn Swann. Let me repeat that. John Stallworth and Lynn Swann. And you know, Tony, you were just telling me as we spoke earlier today that you saw that
Tony, you
catch
won't
that
believe
Lynn
this,
Swann
man.
made in the end zone where he literally slid in once he caught it. He caught it kind of like this, and they were in the Orange Bowl playing the Dallas Cowboys that night. I
That
think
was
they
on the open
split
end.
the two defensive backs. They split Charlie Waters and Cliff Harris, and he got between them two, and Bradshaw just threw it up, and he caught it, and that was one of the biggest, most memorable catches of, you know, my experience with football, especially, you know. So between the two of them, they had 114 TDs. Tony, I'm going to ask you this question, and I'm just a little bit curious. How did you rank them at this position as opposed to being a little bit higher on the hierarchy?
Again, I gave my number one, and the other 9,
Mm-hmm.
I just
You could scramble them however you like, technically, right?
I couldn't place them in any particular order, so I just wanted to leave it open. And the way that you see them listed on the list is just as I was, picking them out. I had already decided who was going to be on the list.
Okay.
I went through all that, and then I just started going down in order how I had listed them, and that's basically the way it came out.
Yeah, I understand.
So really, I rank them very high. Actually, I would rank them if I had to rank. I would rank them higher than what 10. I think is what.
Yes, they're at 10.
That's your last.
Yeah.
That is your last.
The funny thing is I did the list, and I'm counting. I said 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, I got 9. I said, who am I missing? And they were like the first guys I thought of when DC and I talked about doing something like this, tandems.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, man, Swann and Stallworth, of course. And that's why they ended up being last on the list. I don't know. There was just so many receivers and stuff, and I'm writing them down. And I kept telling myself, I can't rank them. I just can't rank them. So I'm going to leave these open.
So Isaiah, where do you place them? Isaiah, where would you place these two guys?
Let me tell you something, man. Tony is a good guy, man. Tony knows his crap, man.
Oh, Tony knows football. I think he knows football.
You know,
for sure.
The funny part about this is he did the freaking exact thing I did, man. I mean, really. The only thing is, we both gave up. DC. We freaking just we chickened out because one thing, it was going to require tremendous work and just brainstorming on checking out all the stats and the touchdown, the years of play, and all this type of stuff. But you know what's funny about this damn list? He has his at number 10, and mine is number uno, man. They were the first
So
ones.
Lynn Swann and Stallworth is number 1 in your list as far as being scrambled.
They were number 1. They were number 1 because it's just like the way he came up with his list, especially with being our age of play. When you start talking about the 70s, the 80s, all the way down to the 90s, and these guys who came up in the 2000s, we recognize that they're hell of a players. But the duos, man, and with these old memorable things when we were kid coming up watching these guys is amazing to see, because I don't know whether we were more gratified to be going to the game or just didn't understand freaking how talented these guys are as opposed to the ones right now. Because, man, these guys back in the day, I recognize the talent of these guys today, right? Don't get me wrong. But the ones before, the ones that's on these lists, these guys was fighters, man. They were fighters. They used to fight for the damn ball. They would freaking block your head off. They would knock your damn head off for the ball. Mm-hmm. They would, when the quarterback was in trouble,
they would come back.
They coming back.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, you can throw them a 5 yard pass and they take off running. I don't know when the last time watching a football game they threw a little screen pass, a hitch pass, or something small, whether it's 6 or 7 yard, and they take it to the house. That I mean, either you throwing a damn bomb or something, right at a bomb for them to run 80 yards because the way these guys are playing right now, they're not all blocking. You can block to run 80 yards, man, if you catch a ball for 5 yards. Let me show you my list, guys.
Okay.
Number one was Lynn Swan.
Okay.
And Star. Number two is Jerry Rice and Terrell Owens.
Okay.
Number three was the Marx brothers with Clayton.
Okay.
And then four is Hopper and Reggie Wayne. And this is where it gets ugly, man. It was tough. Number five, you had Reed and James Lofton. Andre Reed and James Lofton, man. That right there was difficult because I was like, God damn, I gotta put these books on.
So you got to go back in and shape it and put it in order, right?
It wasn't a matter of shaping it because I told you Tony and I gave up on that part. It was a matter of putting these guys on here, and I was pissed because they used to put it on my Dolphins.
Right.
They ran up these stats on our damn Dolphins, man.
Yeah.
Boy. So number 6 is Drew Pearson and Tony Hill, and this is the same thing I was telling you, Tony. Freeway. This is what I've said. It's the ones that you missed. I kind of collected, and then you got Alvin Hopper and Michael Irvin.
Okay.
And you got on Michael Irvin jersey, his college jersey. And I'm gonna tell you this. This is one that damn it, DC. This guy was a freaking stud, and his brother loved him to death. Sterling Sharp and Antonio Freeman, man.
Oh yeah,
those guys
for the Green Bay Packers.
Yeah,
Antonio
man.
Freeman was a stud for the Green Bay Packers as well as Sterling Sharp. Yes, until Sharp got injured and he couldn't play anymore.
Until Sharp got injured, yeah.
Right. But
y'all ready for this one?
Yeah.
The next one, number 9. Well, go ahead and elaborate on it because DC, let's prolong it because Sterling Sharp and Antonio Freeman was something else. What are your take on it?
I like your list. I think it's great. And like I said before with Tony's list, I like his list. But the Torrey Holt, Isaac, Bruce, I think definitely needs to be in the list. Definitely needs to be on the list because they were in one of the most explosive offenses in football. So that was a really good pick on Tony's part, and his son brought it up that look, you got to have those two guys in there. So what is your next pick?
Scratch. The next pick, ready for this? Joe Theismann guys, bro. Joe Theismann guys.
Gary Clark and Art
Charlie
Monk,
Brown.
right?
Yeah.
Gary Clark and Art Monk.
Yep.
So let me ask you this, Isaiah. How would you put Gary Clark and Art Monk up against Torrey Holt and Isaac Bruce? Because I just want to get a comparison there because I know Washington's offense was completely different from the Rams, the way they ran offenses. So to me, it was more of an impact to see Holt and Bruce more so than Monk and Gary Clark, although those guys were deadly as well. So I'm just trying to have a better, clearer understanding of that.
DC, the only way you can add everybody in there, damn it, you got to expand the list.
You have to have a top 20 in, right? Technically.
Top 20, period. Because I'm just looking at Tony's thing. Damn, because he knows, man, these guys are badass on this list and his list because he already done scrolled through what he had.
Exactly.
And he still didn't have enough bodies to put on a 10. You're talking about 10 folks out of all of our years. You're talking about three decades is what we're working with, man. 3 decades
at least, right?
3 decades. 3 decades, man. And not only that, upon these 3 decades, most of these quarterbacks had sets of receivers. They had sets of receivers. Just think about it. And that's what I was elaborating on earlier. They had sets of receivers. If you take a Montana, the long as he played, he didn't just have 2 receivers that was his targeted guys. You had guys came in there and I mean,
Well, he had
You
Brent Jones
stand
for a
up.
long time as a tight end. I'm talking about the Montana did. And,
That's what I'm
they had a
telling you.
running game that was out of this world,
It
and we'll
was an
talk a little bit
intricate
about
part of
that.
his yard.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those tight ends on these teams right here with this list, we're talking about a duo of receivers, but those tight ends was an integral part of this offense. I mean, even the tailback that's running out of the backfield, catching his passes and screens and stuff like that, that broke a lot of touchdown. Because I'm going to tell you right now, when we're talking about Peyton Manning, you don't know how many times he threw a little short pass to Edgerrin James, a screen to Edgerrin
Oh, he
James,
was
and he
one of the
take off
best
down the
backs coming
street.
out of the backfield, catching it in football.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Edgerrin
yes.
James was.
So it's amazing. Now Moss and Carter was the 10th, and this is why I really respect Tony's list, because we was only offered about three duos on here.
Correct.
And
Right.
the rest of it was pretty much the same. And it's amazing that his body of work of looking at his list is really similar.
I
It's
agree.
very similar, man. But the talent on this page, man, it's just the raw talent of these men who played this game that we love, man, is just enormous. And chances are, out of all this list on there, the majority of these guys are in the Hall of Fame that's on this
A
list.
majority of them, with the exception of a few. Yeah, you're right. I mean, you look
They-
at,
they-
I forgot to ask you guys while we were on that Clayton Duper duo. Do you guys think Mark Clayton belongs into the Hall of Fame?
Absolutely, he does.
Absolutely.
Absolutely, he does. Yeah. If it
Okay.
wasn't for Clayton, it wouldn't have been a Duper and Marino, man. He the one was like I said before, he was the garbage man. He was the I'm coming to get the garbage. Then he was the cleanup guy.
Right.
I mean, he was the dirt bag that cleaned all of the crap off the field. He was
Right.
the guy who got those hardcore yards when you needed 3rd and 7, and they don't stop our run, and we need to advance the ball down the field. Clayton is going to fight. He was a little gnat. He was confusing to defense. He would run hard like he's going down the field. He'll bump you and twist around. Boom! Marino hit him in the chest with the ball, and there's a first down.
Correct.
So yeah.
Correct. So let me start with you, Isaah, first, and then I'm going to move over to Tony. So you guys had very similar lists in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
What were your variables? What were your main three variables to get to these lists? Because we mentioned one, which was a quarterback, of course. But give me some of the variables that put your list in the order that you had it in, and then I'm going to ask Tony on his take for his list.
Well, the first 5, I think, was all about me figuring out these guys were the best in my book. And then when I got to the point where I said, it ain't no way in the world, I gave up. And just like Tony, we gave up. And I just threw in what I thought was the best. But more so than anything is the fact that Tony and I both, we watched these guys playing. We watched them play.
Mm-hmm.
And my think of watching these guys play is the grit of all of these
And the
guys on this list.
determination and the
And
toughness,
the
right?
determination and the toughness and all of that, man. And I'm talking about in the terrain and the weather, the rain, and all of this type of stuff. They came up with huge plays. And that's why they're on this list, because there's a lot of other players could have been on this list. But then when it was when the going got tough, some of them chicken out drop balls and they didn't advance the ball and all this stuff. Man, I just remember you did mention this about how when Dan Marino and those guys were playing, and one thing that you can always remember when it was Duper and Clayton, and you can remember Nat Moore when they spit his ass around like a helicopter, man, and he was going to get the ball. He knew he was going to get popped. He knew
That's
he
right.
was going to get popped. And he got leveled. But guess what? He didn't drop the ball. He did
Yeah.
not drop that ball. And he was on the highlight reel for like 20 years with that hit, man. But he didn't drop the ball. And it was the sign of the toughness of these players that's on here. And the reason why I picked them, man. You watched them play throughout the years. And as a little kid, when I seen Hill, Drew Pierce, and those guys like that, man, I watched this guy get hit when Starbuck used to throw them the ball and how they were all disciplined too. One thing I can say, these guys was disciplined. Most of them on here wasn't guys who caused problems and got in trouble and none of that type of stuff. They was all at the game. They had a lot of self-pride in themselves, DC
Right.
and Tony. These guys played the game like it should be. And I wish a lot of the young folks that's playing right now will emulate these guys, man. They making the money, but they just not
They're not
playing the type
interested
of
in
game they do.
emulating these guys
Yeah.
from the past. They're worried about their egos and their
Okay.
money. So let me give you my three main. Go ahead, Tony.
If I may add something real quick.
Sure.
Isaah, remember that these players that we're just talking about, they played against different defense. You know, the DBs, the corners were right in their face at the line of scrimmage.
That's true.
Bump
That's
and run.
true.
Yeah,
man.
for the first 5 yards,
Yes.
trying to break up their routes, and
Yes.
it was just different. It was so tougher to get off the line of scrimmage and
Yeah.
run your route than it is today. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good point. And you know, today with the philosophy and the style of defense they play off the receivers now. And I don't know why they do that, because bump and
They're
run
afraid to
coverage
get
is some of the
smoked.
best coverage
They're
to
afraid
have.
to get burned, DC.
That's true.
They're afraid to get burned. They're afraid to get a bomb thrown on them, man. That's the only reason why you play that deep.
Yeah.
Because if you were a DB, I want you to understand something. If you watch Deion Sanders, what's funny about him, every time folks challenge him, even at his age right now, he always walk up on Ocho Cinco and these guys, and he get right in their damn face. You know why? Because he's going to post them up, because he's going to bam you or bump you before you come off the line. Most of them guys want to give you 10 yards when you can take off running. With that 10 yards, they think they got the advantage, because before these guys come off the line, they gave them 10 yards already. So if you need 5 yards, it's 3rd and 5, you need 5 yards, and you back 10, damn it, you got the first already. You got the first down. But the old school guys going to be right in your face. If you catch the ball, you get 3 yards, so you're short. Now you got the punt.
Right. Yeah.
Like Lester Hayes.
Lester Hayes is another
was
one.
good for that.
Yeah.
And that's one who we've been lobbying for to be in the Hall of Fame.
He deserves
Tony.
to be in the Hall of Fame, and we'll keep
We've
saying
been
that
lobbying
here.
for that. We've been talking about that a lot for him to get in the Hall of Fame. Yeah.
Absolutely. So here's my three main variables, and then I'm going to ask Tony. Quarterback is my number one variable. The offensive scheme is my number two variable, and just how the offensive line blocks, because it's all about timing. Everything is timing when it comes to throwing the football, whether you throw it deep, whether you throw it intermediate or up close. Everything is depending on whether those edge rushers can get to the quarterback. And all of that comes together as a defensive scheme. If you look at how defenses were designed back then, was to get up on the line, bump the receiver, get him 2 steps off, so those rushers could come in and make a difference to get to the quarterback before he can get rid of the ball, before he can release the ball.
Mm-hmm.
So those are my three main variables. Tony, what do you come up with on how you arrived at, the number one? Of course, we understand, but from that point on, what three main things stuck out to you?
Route running, and stretching the field,
Okay.
complementing each other. How
Absolutely.
are they complementing each other's play? Does a quarterback benefit from player X doing certain things and player Y doing certain things? Stuff like that. Another thing would be the style of offense which they played.
Correct.
And,
I do believe that. Yes.
Yes. And the other thing really has to be the quarterback, because
Absolutely.
without him, they ain't catching
And
any
every
balls.
one of these duos on here had good quarterbacks.
Every one of them.
Every
Yes.
last one of them. Yeah. Yeah. You're not. These guys not gonna break records like that. You're not getting freaking 200 touchdowns in a duel if you don't have a good quarterback. There's no way. So it's got to be a quarterback has know how to throw the ball, and he's got to be protected at the same time. And every last one of these quarterbacks was protected, and they had a good core of receivers. That's the only way. That's the only way you can do it.
Right.
There's no other way to do it. Yeah.
Right. And if you look at how offensive lines were constructed back then, as opposed to now, because now they're hulking and they're huge. I mean, you look at an offensive line on average in the NFL, you're looking at about 370 to 380 at least. But that's college level now. I mean, Mario Cristobal has got a line like that. A lot of the college teams have got hulking offensive lines. So with that said, whenever you have an offensive line that can protect the quarterback, unlike they were able to do back in the early times, because the defenders were just so brutal when it came to rushing in there on the quarterback, it makes a difference whether you could have a super good wide receiver duo as well. And not only that, the rules change in football. I mean, if you look at how the rules favor offense now versus defense. And what it does is opens up opportunities for the offense to really dial it up and score more, and the receivers catch more, right?
I've seen that in our past championship games, man. In the Indiana University of Miami game, those damn receivers from Indiana were freaking holding. They was pushing off. They was fighting, scratching our DBs, and nothing was called. But when we did that shit to them, they called a freaking flag, man. It's just amazing how they let these receivers get away with stuff. And it's not offensive pass interference when it should be.
That's on every level.
I see them get away with a lot of stuff.
On
every level they do that. Yeah,
sure. Yeah. Well said. So, I'll before we close this thing out, I have a final question. So, what separates a GOAT duo, a greatest of all time duo, from just a duo in the NFL? Either one of you can answer.
Well, listen, man. It's the longevity, man. It's the longevity. It's a lot that entails with this, DC. It's the longevity. It's the people who's going to stay healthy. You got to stay healthy, because if you were a quarterback, if your quarterback broke up, just like, think about our Dolphins here. You got a good receiver like Tyreek was here, who wound up being frustrated and then it took him with all off the field stuff. But before he came to the Dolphins, he was running up record numbers every year. So that means it has a lot to do with the quarterback situation. The quarterback got to stay healthy. He's got to be protected. That was one thing that Tua didn't have here. So that goes to prove what happens when you don't have a good quarterback and protect the quarterback. Your receiver going to suffer the consequences of it. And that's it in a nutshell. Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
I agree too. And the list can change, and they can be in different types of orders, but at the end of the day, what you just said, stressed, Isaiah, made all the sense in the world. Is the quarterback is the main dynamic behind whether these receivers can do what they do on the field time after time again. And it's some other things that come into play. But we're dealing with a different type of football now in terms of the new generation of football versus the generation of football back in the 80s and the 90s, because it was just completely different, altogether different back then.
Those years was smash mouth, DC. It was the era of the fullback and the running backs. Now it's the receivers and the quarterbacks. And just look at it. You got speedsters. If you got a speedy receiver and a good-ass quarterback, you finna kick some serious behind. But if you got a running back that's good, what are you going to do? You need him to just run out the clock. You just need him to run out the clock, because the game is slow when you running the ball. When you want to speed it up, you got to have that throwing game. And that's what it became now. You look at what they're paying him now. They barely will put a running back on the roster because he's not needed as much as they used to. You needed a scat back. You was looking for a Heisman Trophy running back to put on your team. When you had Earl Campbell, the smash mouth, the grit, the freak, you gonna tear his jersey off of him, and he gonna run the ball 30 or 40 times. When is the last time you heard a running back run the ball 40 times? You don't hear that anymore.
You don't hear that anymore.
At
like
all.
the John Riggins of the world and the Earl Campbells.
Arthur Franklin's and man,
absolutely.
Guys who gonna smash. Yeah.
Absolutely. So here's another thing too that I wanted to bring up as well is you got Don Shula. So the Dolphins, and I'm going to give a reference to the Dolphins and then we'll close everything. The Dolphins had David Woodley for years, and they were running a more pro style offense in the sense of play action, hand it off to the running back and let them run with it, and then that creates play action where you can open things up for the receivers. And then Marino came about, and Don Shula changed his whole offensive philosophy to just throw, pass first, run second. You know what I mean? So that changed football a lot with a lot of different coaches back in that time. So you guys got any questions about anything else? Because we want to go into a small Q&A here. And then we want to do a little quick Super Bowl prediction, because I think all three of us kind of got an idea who we think is going to win. And as you can see, I got my Seattle jersey here, my Aaron Curry jersey.
Yeah, and that's who's going to win.
So that I do believe is going to win as well. I think the Seattle Seahawks has got the advantage in several areas. New England is going to play them hard. However, I don't think New England's going to have enough at the very end of the day. And I think Seattle's defense is going to get to Drake May a lot faster than New England's defense can get to Sam Darnold. I do believe that. How about you, Tony?
Totally agree. I think it's going to be a close game. It'll be tough, of course.
Yeah, it's going to be a hard-fought game.
I see the Seahawks winning by 4 or 5 points, something like that.
And that sounds like it makes sense. That makes sense because two of the teams are so well matched up. Here's the main matchup that I have is Christian Gonzalez, who plays cornerback for the Patriots, versus, Smith, Njigba Smith. That's going to be a hell of a matchup, man. And I think Njigba Smith is going to win that matchup. Do you guys think so?
I agree.
Jackson Smith and Njigba.
Yeah.
Yeah. That and Gonzalez is a super great cornerback. I mean, he's hadn't been in the league for a long time, and he plays really well. But Njigba Smith is just, he's dynamic. And then you got Cooper Kupp on the other side of that as well. So it's gonna be interesting to see how these two teams pan out. I'm excited. I'm going to a Super Bowl party tomorrow, so I'm stoked up and all hyped up for that. So do you guys got any plans in particular?
Well, I got plans. I got some turkey wings marinating right now. I have some beef barbecue ribs that's marinating right now.
Sounds like a plan.
I got some potato salad marinating right now, DC.
Sounds like a plan.
And let me tell you something. I got some mac and cheese, dog. See, let me tell you something, man. I'm hyped for this game because I actually was so proud to see how this the playoff ended. To see these two teams go and to see the Patriots get back there, and they've been absent for quite a while. And I just feel like this game gonna be really something that folks gonna be talking about for quite a while. From the halftime show and all this type of stuff. I mean, we need something like this. The country needs something like this to see something exciting, and I think it's going to be an exciting game tomorrow, man. And a lot of these guys who's betting on this game going to come short, man, because they're thinking about the Patriots with this way they used to win with when they had Brady there. But this is a new era. They got a great coach now because the coach wound up being coach of the year. But, man,
Mike
when
Vrabel
they
ended up being coach of the year. Right.
Yeah. A lot of folks hadn't watched Seattle, DC, Everybody
I haven't seen him.
I've spoken with,
This game against the Rams was the first time I saw the Seahawks play this year, and I was
but
impressed.
don't you see how well rounded they are? They're not lacking anything.
And Mike McDonald could have easily won it, or Ben Johnson over at Chicago could have easily won it. I just think that they had a tough time trying to determine which coach stuck out the most. But I think all three coaches did a phenomenal job with those teams that they took over, because all three teams were not doing well when these coaches got there. So here's one I got for you, Tony, really quick. Do you think Matthew Stafford deserved that most valuable player over Drake May?
No.
Okay. At least you're being honest about it, because it looks like Stafford just ended up edging out Drake May for most valuable player. I didn't even know Stafford was a candidate for most valuable player this year. I didn't even know. That shows you how much.
Yeah.
I knew it was Drake May, and there were several other people that was mentioned, but Matthew Stafford kind of came out of nowhere. And I'm not saying he did. I mean, Matthew Stafford is a very good quarterback. I'm not throwing any shade on Matthew Stafford, but I have to agree with you. I think Drake May should have won it. Honestly. I really do. How about you, Isaah?
Well, I didn't know who was going to win it, man, because remember, you guys teased the hell out of me when I told you who was going to be the most valuable player this year. You and Najee just clowned me all the way to the end.
Well,
I was being hypothetical about it, but you guys took it serious and you drilled me all year long.
Deserved a clown.
Tony, they dogged me out, man. I was teasing them. I said Shedeur Sanders, man. But boy, they laid it on me. They won't let me forget about it.
I'm not going to let you forget about that one.
And the reason why they dogged me out is because you're talking about at that time, Shedeur was like sixth string.
Yeah.
The only part of my prediction was right. I said he was going to wind up starting.
That was a good part of the prediction, right?
Yeah. Yep.
I just leaned back in my chair. I couldn't believe you said it when you said that.
Hey, Tony. Hey, Tony, you know I sip a little orange juice or lime juice. In this case, this is carrot juice, right? Don't you know those two guys asked me what was I drinking?
I just wanted to know what was in that cup.
He was like, what in the hell is in that cup, man?
Yeah, I was just carried away. Anyway, we'll close this show out, and you're watching the DC Stewart Show Podcast live with McKen Folk, Isaah, and our special guest, Tony. Tony, I'm so glad you joined us again tonight. You're always welcome here. We're going to have you back again, because we're going to be continuing to do lists. And by the way, just to let everybody know, we have our weekly radio show now, WDCS Live, which we record and we talk about entertainment, we talk about arts, and Tony will be joining us as part of that radio show as well. So we're so happy that he took his time out tonight and came to, share his list with us, because that was very special to us as well as our viewers as well. We thank everybody else for joining us, who joined us tonight. We always appreciate when you come and spend time with us and participate in the whole 9 yards. And we're going to keep doing this thing. And we're looking forward to football season coming back after tomorrow. Football season kind of goes away for a little bit, and then we'll concentrate on other sports. Basketball, of course, will be one of them. But we're going to cover all the sports. Summertime, we got a lot in store for a lot of these camps, football camps, and on into next season. By that time, we'll be able to share more so a schedule, and we'll have all of that posted up for you, and we'll be talking about a lot of stuff. Isaah, you got anything to close us out with tonight?
Yeah, I gotta tell Tony that Michael Irvin is looking for a duo to take off his belt and beat on some garbage cans and shit too. So I'm gonna tell him that you.
Well, you don't have anything to beat on right now, since there's no more football.
Not because the season is over, but when the season starts, I'm gonna recommend Tony to come out there with his belt and start whipping on some jerseys and some mascots with his belt. But
I'm
anyway,
all
thanks
in.
so much, Tony, for coming on, man. It's always a pleasure. You always come with the funk,
Thank
man. You
you.
got a
Thank
beautiful
you so
list,
much.
man, and
Thank you
and
It's a
so
it
much.
beautiful
just
list.
shows you know your thing when your
Yeah.
list is only a couple duos off from mine, and
Yeah.
man, we made a good
Yeah.
show out of it, man. Thanks so much, everybody, for watching the
Thank
show,
you.
man, and you guys have a safe rest of the weekend and watch the game. Don't be drinking and driving out there, everybody. You
No.
guys be careful
Take ride
and
share
have a
tomorrow.
pleasant week.
Everybody who wants
Yeah,
to go to a party and have drinks, there's
yeah,
nothing wrong with that. Just do not
yeah.
drive your vehicle if you are consuming alcohol. Even one drink, don't do it because it's just so risky until,
Yeah.
if you do it, you'll regret it. And then you had a chance not to regret it because you shouldn't have never done it. Correct?
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah. So, Tony,
Yeah.
you got anything to close us out with before we call it a night?
Just want to thank you guys for everything. I have a lot of respect and admiration for both of you, and
Likewise,
thank you
likewise.
Likewise.
for inviting me
Absolutely.
on board.
And tell your son that he made a good choice with Isaac Bruce and Torrey Holt, by the way.
I will definitely let him know.
Absolutely. So this is the DC Stewart Show once again from McKim Folk Isaiah, and we got our special guest, Tony. We'll do this thing again on Monday morning. We do it every Monday morning, 10 o'clock a.m. Pacific time, 1 p.m. Eastern time. So be tuned in to us because we got a lot of stuff to talk about from the recaps of the Super Bowl tomorrow. So take care of yourself, take care of your health, take care of your mental spirits and your physical. And we will do it again soon. Peace, love, and prosperity. Take it easy. Take care.